G'day friends, it's Andrew here again from Nature's Image Photography, and in this video I'll be sharing a fun new portrait shoot I did recently using the PANASONIC LUMIX G9 with a couple of gorgeous young models at the historic Fort Lydon National Park in Brisbane. It was stacks of fun and I'm going to share the photos and the camera settings. But before we start, if this is your first visit to my channel, be sure to subscribe while you're here. And if you're enjoying my videos, you might like to show your support by buying me a coffee. You'll find the link in the information below. So before we get to Fort Lydon, I want to share a bit about how I use my G9 for portrait photography. I didn't have time to do this on the day, so I recorded this a few days later, and I want to thank my friend Celina for helping out. The majority of my portraits are taken using the Olympus 45mm f1.8 lens that you see here. I've already made a few videos showcasing this lens and the photos I've taken with it. I often get people in the comments comparing this lens to others on the market, but the truth is I'm only an occasional portrait photographer and this lens has served me well and I love using it. Now and then I like a wider angle lens to take in more of the surroundings, and it's also handy sometimes to have the versatility of a zoom. So for some of the Fort Lydon portraits I also use my Panasonic Leica 12-60mm lens. It doesn't have the super wide aperture of the Olympus lens, but that's fine because I usually use it when I want to feature more of the background anyway. Regular viewers to this channel know that I shoot RAW files and I do everything in manual mode. That means I choose the aperture, the shutter speed and the ISO myself. Aperture is generally kept pretty wide for this sort of photography, and I try to keep the ISO at 200 in good light, so most of my exposure adjustment is done using the shutter speed, and I take advantage of the great constant preview feature on the G9 to help make sure I'm happy with each exposure before I press the button. And I guess that brings us to focus, and as I've shown you in previous videos, I like to use AFC combined with the Face Eye Body Detect Area mode. This combo means I can encourage the model to move freely and I can keep on composing and shooting, knowing the autofocus will track them pretty seamlessly. It allows for a lot more spontaneous moments rather than having to constantly ask the model to stop and hold that pose while I get my focus right. Here's that actual footage of Celina, and obviously this was shot as video, but the system works equally well for stills. When the subject is further away, the camera tracks the body. As they come closer, it locks onto the face, and when they get really close, it will concentrate on the eye nearest to the camera. There is the option to get the camera to stay on one eye or the other using the touchscreen, but I've never had to use that as I'm generally happy with the way things work just as they are. Now every now and then this AF combo fails me. It's usually when the eyes are turned away from the camera for a significant length of time, or when I'm taking a backlit photo where the sun is behind the subject and the face is in shadow. It can be just a little bit frustrating, but I solved the problem by changing to AFS and single area focus. This slows things down a bit because now I do have to ask the model to hold still while I focus, compose and shoot. Here's just a couple more shots, and I want to say thanks once again to Celina for helping me out. But now it's time for my first visit to Fort Lydon, which was an actual military fort used in the defence of Brisbane up until the end of World War II. Now it's a national park open to the public, and as it turns out, a great setting for a photo shoot. And I think you can see my good friend Keesha enjoyed her day out. So g'day friends, we are about to start our photo shoot. We are at a beautiful place called Fort Lydon, which I've never been to before, and I'm here with my friend Keesha.
Hello.
Who, some of you, if you're regular viewers, you would have met Keesha before in one of my previous videos. We are about to get into a photo shoot. I'm going to be using the Panasonic LUMIX G9, as I always have been, with the, mostly probably, the 45mm f1.8 lens. And I've also got, for some of the interior shots where I want a little bit more of the setting to appear in the photograph, I've got my Leica Panasonic 12-60mm lens as well. I'm not going to do a long introduction because we want to get into taking some photos, so wish us luck, and when we are done I'll show you the photographs, and I'm also going to show you the camera settings. So let's go! I also need to mention our other model on the day, Athalia, who arrived a little bit later when things were already underway. I'll put links to both models' Instagrams in the details below. Now here's a selection of my favourite images from the afternoon, and as usual I'm going to include lens and exposure settings for those who are interested. Enjoy the pics, and thanks for watching.